If you only trust when life makes sense, that's not trust, that's comfort. You did everything right and it still didn't work. And now you're standing at the edge, ready to quit. But hear me, this moment right here, when there's no evidence, no clarity, and no guarantee, this is the moment that decides everything. Don't walk away now. Don't break now. Just keep trusting. Some of you are tired, not because you worked too hard, but because you stopped believing too early. You prayed, you planned, you pushed. And when it didn't happen on your timeline, you started questioning the process. But hear me clearly, delay does not mean denial. Just because you can't see doesn't mean it's not working. There are seasons in life where nothing makes sense. You're doing the right things, but the results aren't showing. That's the moment most people quit. That's the moment dreams die. But champions trust even when it hurts. They trust when it's dark. They trust when they feel alone. See, trusting isn't easy when everything is going right. Trust is tested when everything is going wrong. When doors close, when people walk away, when the plan falls apart. Find out who you really are. You don't need all the answers to move forward. You just need enough courage to take the next step. Stop trying to control everything. Some lessons only come through patience. Some victories only come through endurance. There are things happening behind the scenes that you can't see yet. Growth you don't feel yet. Strength being built quietly. And one day it's going to make sense why you had to wait, why you had to struggle, why you had to trust. So don't give up now. Don't break under pressure. Don't lose faith in the middle of the storm. Just keep trusting. Your time is coming. Most people think trust is something you practice when everything lines up, when the plan is clear, when the path makes sense, and when the results are predictable. But that kind of trust is easy. That's not real trust, that's convenience. Real trust begins the moment understanding ends. It starts when the answers stop coming, when the clarity fades, and when the next step feels risky, uncomfortable, and uncertain. Trust beyond understanding is the ability to move forward without permission from logic, without approval from circumstance, and without evidence that things will work out the way you hope. There comes a time in life when you realize that understanding is limited. You can analyze every angle, plan every move, research every possibility, and still not know how things are going to turn out. That's the moment that separates those who grow from those who quit. Some people freeze because they don't understand. They say they'll move when it makes sense, when they feel ready, when the fear goes away. But the truth is, it may never fully make sense. Readiness doesn't always come before action. Sometimes action creates readiness. Trust beyond understanding requires courage because you are stepping into the unknown. You are choosing belief over proof. You are deciding that even though you can't see the whole staircase, you'll take the next step anyway. That kind of trust is uncomfortable because it forces you to release control. And control is something people hold on to tightly, especially when life feels unstable. But control is an illusion. You were never meant to control everything, only to commit to moving forward despite uncertainty. There will be moments when your mind will fight you. It will replay past failures, remind you of times when things didn't work out, and warn you of everything that could go wrong. The mind wants guarantees. It wants safety. It wants certainty. But growth doesn't live in certainty. Growth lives in risk. Growth lives in faith. Growth lives in a decision to trust even when your mind is screaming for answers that don't exist yet. Trust beyond understanding also means accepting that you don't need to know the whole plan to be part of it. Some chapters in your life won't come with explanations. Some lessons won't make sense until years later. And some struggles won't reveal their purpose until they're over. But that doesn't mean they are meaningless. It means the meaning is still forming. When you trust beyond understanding, you stop demanding immediate clarity and start allowing the process to shape you. Many people quit too early because they confuse confusion with failure. They think that because they don't understand what's happening, something must be wrong. But confusion is often a sign that you're being stretched. It's a sign that you're stepping into new territory. Think about every major transformation in life. It begins with discomfort. It begins with uncertainty. It begins with moments where you ask yourself if you're doing the right thing. That questioning isn't a weakness. It's part of the journey. Trust beyond understanding means you don't need validation from others to keep going. There will be people who don't see your vision, who don't understand your choices, and who question your direction. If you rely on their approval, you'll never move forward. Not everyone is meant to understand your path. Some people are only meant to witness the result. Trust requires you to keep walking even when you're walking alone. There is also a quiet strength that comes with trusting beyond understanding. It builds resilience. It teaches patience. It deepens character. When you learn to trust without answers, you become less reactive and more grounded. You stop panicking at every delay and stop falling apart at every obstacle. You begin to understand that setbacks are not signals to stop, but invitations to adapt. Trust gives you the emotional stability to endure what you cannot yet explain. You have to understand that understanding is not the foundation of success. Commitment is. Discipline is. Consistency is. There are people who fully understand what they should do but never do it. And there are people who don't understand everything but still show up every day and keep going. Progress belongs to the second group, the ones who trust the process enough to stay in it. Trust beyond understanding also means forgiving yourself for not having all the answers. You are human. You are learning. You are growing. Expecting yourself to know everything is unrealistic and unfair. Trust allows you to say, I don't know yet, but I'm willing to find out. It allows you to make mistakes without losing confidence. It allows you to learn as you move instead of waiting until you feel perfect. There will be days when trusting feels heavy, days when doubt creeps in and fear feels louder than faith. On those days, trust doesn't mean pretending everything is okay. It means choosing not to quit even when it hurts. It means continuing the journey with questions in your heart and uncertainty in your heart and uncertainty in your mind. Trust is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. One of the hardest parts of trusting beyond understanding is waiting. Waiting tests patience. Waiting tests belief. Waiting makes you question whether the effort is worth it. But waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is often preparation. During the waiting season, your character is being built. Your endurance is being strengthened, and your perspective is being refined. What you are becoming in the waiting season is just as important as what you are working toward. Trust beyond understanding also teaches you humility. It reminds you that you don't have control over every outcome. It teaches you to surrender the need to know how everything will work out. That surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. When you let go of the need to control every detail, you create space for growth, creativity, and unexpected opportunities. Sometimes trust means continuing even when results are slow. In a world that celebrates instant gratification, slow progress can feel discouraging. But slow progress is still progress. Trust teaches you to value consistency over speed. It reminds you that lasting success is built over time, not overnight. When you trust beyond understanding, you stop comparing your timeline to others and start respecting your own journey. There will be moments when trusting beyond understanding requires you to act before you feel before you feel confident. Confidence often comes after action, not before it. Waiting to feel ready can keep you stuck forever. Trust says, I may not feel ready, but I am willing. Willingness is powerful. Willingness opens doors that fear tries to keep closed. Trust beyond understanding also strengthens your inner voice. When you stop relying on external validation and clear explanations, you learn to listen inwardly. You become more intuitive. You start recognizing what feels aligned, even when it doesn't look logical. That inner alignment becomes your guide when external signs are unclear. You may not understand why certain doors closed. You may not understand why some opportunity didn't work out. But trust allows you to believe that redirection is sometimes protection. That what didn't happen was making room for will. Understanding may come later, but trust keeps you moving forward now. At its core, trust beyond understanding is a commitment to the journey, not just a destination. Choosing growth over comfort. It's choosing faith over fear. It's choosing persistence over panic. It's deciding that even without answers, even without guarantees, even without clarity, you will continue. Because one day you will look back and realize that the moments you understood the least were the moments that shaped you the most. The uncertainty strengthened you. The waiting refined you. The waiting refined you. The lack of clarity forced you to grow. And the trust you practiced when nothing made sense became the foundation of who you are. So keep moving. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Not because you understand everything, but because you trust enough to take the next step. And sometimes that's all it takes. Most people see delay as a sign that something is wrong. They assume that if things were meant to happen, they would happen quickly, smoothly, and without resistance. But delay is not a mistake in the process. Delay is often the process itself. What feels like waiting is usually shaping. What feels like being stuck is often preparation. Delay is part of the design, not a detour from it. When things don't happen on your timeline, frustration sets in. You start questioning your decisions, your abilities, and sometimes even your purpose. You replay moments in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently. But delay is not always about what you did wrong. Many times, it's about what still needs to be built within you before you're ready for what you're asking for. Timing is not just about the destination, it's about who arrives there. Delay has a way of revealing how deeply you believe. When things come quickly, it's easy to stay motivated. But when progress is slow and results are invisible, belief is tested. Delay exposes whether you are committed to the outcome or addicted to immediate rewards. Some people quit not because the goal is wrong, but because the wait is uncomfortable. They confuse inconvenience with impossibility. There are things you simply cannot receive too early. Success without maturity can destroy you. Opportunity without discipline can overwhelm you. Recognition without character change you in ways you never intended. A delay protects you from receiving something before you're ready to handle it. What feels like denial is often protection working quietly behind the scene. Delay forces growth. In the waiting season, you develop patience, resilience, and endurance. You learn how to show up without applause. You learn how to stay consistent without external rewards. You learn how to keep going when nobody is watching. These are qualities that cannot be rushed. They are formed over time through repetition, frustration, and perseverance. Many people want the result but underestimate the preparation required. Delay stretches your capacity. It teaches you how to carry responsibility before you're given more of it. It refines your habits, your mindset, and your discipline. Without delay, you might arrive too early and leave too soon because you weren't prepared to stay. Delay also changes your perspective. When things don't happen immediately, you have time to reflect, adjust, and realign. Sometimes the wait revealed that what you originally wanted wasn't exactly what you needed. Sometimes the delay helps you refine your vision, sharpen your focus, and eliminate distractions. What you pursue after the delay is often more intentional than what you chased before it. There's also a humility that comes with delay. It reminds you that you are not in control of everything. It teaches you to surrender the illusion of certainty. Delay humbles ambition and tempers ego. It reminds you that growth is not a race, but a process. And humility is essential for long-term success. Delay can feel lonely. While others seem to move ahead, you may feel left behind. Comparison becomes tempting. You start measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. But comparison ignores context. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's preparation is different. The delay in your life is custom built for the assignment you're meant to carry. Comparing your process to someone else's outcome will only create unnecessary pressure. Some delays are not about time, but about alignment. Everything may be in place except the right moment. You may have the skill, the desire, and the vision, but the environment isn't ready yet. The people aren't ready yet. The situation isn't ready yet. Delay allows all the moving parts to come together. Rushing the moment could cause you to miss the impact. Delay also tests commitment. When results are slow, motivation fades. The excitement wears off. What's left is discipline. Delay asks a hard question. Will you continue when the feeling is gone? Will you remain faithful to the process when the reward feels distant? Commitment during delay builds a kind of strength that instant success never could. Sometimes delay is an invitation to deepen your foundation, to strengthen what's weak, to heal what's unresolved, to learn what you skipped, to correct habits that will sabotage you later. Delay gives you time to fix things quietly before they become public problems. It's better to deal with issues in preparation than to face them under pressure. Delay doesn't mean you're forgotten. It doesn't mean you're forgotten. It doesn't mean you're unworthy. It doesn't mean you miss your chance. It means there's more work being done than you can see. Growth often happens invisibly before it becomes visible. Roots grow underground long before fruit appears above ground. If you dig up the seed too early, you destroy the growth that was happening unseen. Delay also builds emotional endurance. You learn how to manage disappointment without collapsing. You learn how to hold hope without immediate evidence. You learn how to regulate your emotions when expectations aren't met. This emotional strength is critical because success brings pressure, criticism, and responsibility. Delay prepares you emotionally for what comes next. There will be moments when delay feels unfair. You did the work. You stayed consistent. You showed up, and still nothing happened. In those moments, frustration is natural. But giving up during delay is like leaving the gym right before your body starts to change. The hardest part often comes right before the breakthrough. Delay teaches you to trust the process instead of demanding constant proof. It teaches you to value effort even when results are delayed. It shifts your focus from outcome to growth. When you stop obsessing over when it will happen, you start focusing on who you are becoming. And who you become during the delay determines what you can sustain afterward. Some delays are redirections. You thought you were waiting for one thing, but the delay reveals a better path. What you thought was a setback becomes a setup. Opportunities you wouldn't have noticed before appeared during the waiting season. Delay creates space for reflection and course correction. Delay also filters people. Those who are only there for quick results often leave when things slow down. Those who remain during delay are usually the ones who believe in the vision, not just the reward. Delay reveals who you can trust, including your own commitment to yourself. You may not see progress, but progress may be happening internally. Your mindset is shifting. Your discipline is strengthening. Your resilience is growing. Internal progress often precedes external results. Delay allows that internal transformation to take place fully instead of being rushed. The danger is interpreting delay as a signal to stop. Many people abandon dreams not because they were impossible, but because they took longer than expected. Delay does not cancel the promise. It challenges your patience. It asks whether you are willing to stay consistent without constant reassurance. Delay also teaches gratitude. When you finally receive what you waited for, you appreciate it differently. You handle it with care. You don't take it for granted. The wait gives value to the reward. What comes quickly is often treated casually. What comes after delay is respected. There is wisdom in learning to work while you wait. Delay is not passive. It's active preparation. It's refining your craft. It's building habits. It's strengthening discipline. It's staying ready so that when the moment comes, you don't have to rush to catch up. Delay can feel like silence, but silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Some of the most important work happens quietly. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean things aren't aligning. Trusting during delay requires faith in the unseen. Eventually, understanding catches up with experience. One day, you'll look back and realize why it couldn't have happened sooner. You'll see how the delay protected you, prepared you, and positioned you. What once felt frustrating will make sense in hindsight. Until then, your responsibility is simple but not easy. Keep showing up. Keep improving. Keep believing. Delay is not your enemy. It is part of the design. And if you stay committed through it, the wait will not be wasted. Most people think faith is something you practice when everything is visible, when progress can be measured, and when results confirm that you're on the right path. But real faith is not built in moments of clarity. Faith grows in the dark. It develops in seasons where there are no sign, no applause, and no reassurance that what you're doing is working. Darkness is not the absence of growth. It is often the environment where growth is strongest. When everything is clear, belief is easy. Anyone can stay motivated when the feedback is positive and the rewards are immediate. But darkness removes external validation. It forces you to rely on something deeper than motivation. It pushes you to confront doubt, fear, and uncertainty head on. This is where faith stops being a concept and becomes a practice. The dark seasons of life are uncomfortable because they strip away certainty. You don't know how long it will last. You don't know what the outcome will be. You don't even know if you're moving in the right direction. All you know is that standing still isn't an option. In those moments, faith becomes the courage to keep moving without confirmation. Darkness tests what you really believe. It exposes whether your faith is rooted in outcomes or in commitment. Some people believe only when things are going their way. When life gets hard, that belief collapses. But those who grow strong faith learn to trust even when circumstances contradict their expectations. They learn that belief is not dependent on evidence. There is a reason growth often happens in isolation. When you are alone with your thoughts without distraction, you begin to confront truths you may have avoided. Darkness creates space for reflection. It forces you to examine your motives, your habits, and your mindset. This internal work is essential. Without it, external success can collapse under pressure. Faith in the dark also builds resilience. When you continue despite uncertainty, you develop endurance. You learn how to manage fear without being controlled by it. You learn how to sit with discomfort without running away. These skills are not learned in easy seasons. They are forged in difficulty. Many people mistake darkness for failure. They assume that because they can't see progress, they must be doing something wrong. But progress is not always visible. Some of the most important changes happen internally before they ever show up externally. Just like seeds grow underground before breaking the surface, faith develops in unseen places. In the dark, you learn to listen differently. Without noise and validation from the outside, you become more aware of your inner voice. You start to recognize what truly matters and what doesn't. This clarity often comes not from answers, but from stillness. Darkness removes distractions so focus can be refined. Faith growing in the dark also teaches patience. When you can't rush the process, you learn how to wait without giving up. Waiting doesn't mean doing nothing. It means staying consistent even when progress feels slow. It means continuing to show up even when motivation fades. Patience is not passive. It is disciplined endurance. There will be moments in the dark when quitting feels logical. Your mind will present strong arguments for giving up. It will tell you that you waited long enough, tried hard enough, and sacrificed enough. Faith in those moments is not about silencing doubt completely. It's about choosing not to let doubt make decisions for you. Dark seasons also build humility. They remind you that you don't have control over everything. They teach you to surrender outcomes and focus on effort. Humility is essential because it keeps you grounded. It allows you to learn instead of defend. It allows growth instead of resistance. One of the hardest lessons of faith in the dark is learning to trust yourself again. When plans fail and expectations aren't met, self-doubt can creep in. You start questioning your abilities and your judgment. But continuing forward despite that doubt rebuilds confidence. Every step you take in uncertainty strengthens self-trust. Faith grows in the dark because the dark requires commitment without reward. You don't get immediate feedback, you don't get recognition, you don't get reassurance. All you have is the decision to continue. That decision, repeated over time, becomes strength. Darkness also reveals priorities. When things are stripped down, you discover what you're really willing to work for. You learn what matters enough to endure discomfort. This clarity is powerful because it aligns your energy with purpose. When purpose is clear, faith becomes sustainable. There's also creativity in the dark. When familiar paths are unavailable, you're forced to find new ways forward. You adapt, you experiment, you problem solve. Some of your best ideas and breakthroughs will come during times when nothing else seems to be working. Faith growing in the dark doesn't mean pretending everything is okay. It means acknowledging fear without being paralyzed by it. It means accepting uncertainty without letting it define you. Strength is not the absence of struggle. It's persistence through it. Dark seasons teach you how to stand alone. When support is limited and encouragement is scarce, you learn to generate your own motivation. This independence is crucial because external support is not always guaranteed. Learning how to keep going on your own builds inner stability. There will be days in the dark when progress feels invisible. On those days, it's important to remember that consistency compounds. Small actions repeated daily create momentum, even when results are delayed. Faith is often expressed through simple, consistent effort. Faith in the dark also prepares you for life. When success eventually comes, you won't be shocked by pressure or overwhelmed by responsibility. You will have already developed the discipline and resilience needed to sustain it. Darkness trains you for visibility. Many people want the outcome without the unseen work. But the unseen work is what makes the outcome meaningful. Faith built in the dark is durable. It doesn't collapse under stress because it was tested before success arrived. The dark season also changes how you define success. You stop measuring progress only by results and start valuing growth, effort, and learning. This shift protects you from burnout and disappointment. It allows you to stay grounded regardless of external circumstances. Faith growing in the dark requires hope, but not the kind that depends on timelines. It's a quiet hope that believes things can improve without demanding immediate proof. This hope is steady, not emotional. It carries you forward even when excitement is gone. Eventually, light returns. Clarity comes. Results appear. But when they do, you realize something important. The dark was not something you survived. It was something that shaped you. It strengthened your belief. It refined your character. It prepared you for what you asked for. Looking back, you'll see that the dark season was not empty. It was full of growth you couldn't see at the time. Faith was being strengthened with every step you took despite uncertainty. Every day you didn't quit mattered. Faith grows in the dark because the dark demands it. Without certainty, belief becomes a choice. Without visibility, trust becomes a discipline. Without reassurance, commitment becomes strength. And when you emerge from the dark, you carry a faith. Doesn't depend on conditions. So if you're in a season where nothing is clear, where progress feels slow, and where doubt feels loud, understand this. You are not lost. You are being built. Stay consistent. Stay committed. Keep moving forward. Because what grows in the dark lasts in the light. Most people believe that control creates safety. They believe that if they can manage every detail, predict every outcome, and plan every step, then nothing can go wrong. Control feels responsible. It feels mature. But the truth is, control often becomes the very thing that limits growth. Control can quietly turn into fear wearing a mask of logic. It can keep you stuck in familiar patterns while convincing you that you're being cautious. Growth requires uncertainty. It requires stepping into situations where you don't have all the answers. When you try to control everything, you eliminate the space where learning happens. You prevent yourself from being stretched. You choose comfort over expansion. Control keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. At the root of control is fear. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of losing what you already have, fear of being exposed. When fear is driving, control feels necessary. You convince yourself that holding on tighter will protect you. But in reality, holding on too tightly suffocates progress. Growth needs room to breathe. Control gives the illusion of certainty, but life is not designed to be certain. No matter how carefully you plan, unexpected things will happen. People will change. Circumstances will shift. Opportunities will appear and disappear without warning. When you cling to control, these changes feel threatening instead of natural. You resist instead of adapt. One of the hardest lessons in growth is learning to release control without feeling irresponsible. Letting go does not mean giving up effort. It does not mean being careless. It means accepting that you cannot manage every variable. It means trusting your ability to respond rather than trying to predict everything in advance. Control limits creativity. When you insist on one outcome, one method, one path, you close yourself off to better possibilities. Some of the most meaningful breakthroughs come from unexpected directions. But if you're obsessed with how things are supposed to happen, you may miss how they actually could happen. Control also creates rigidity. You become attached to plans instead of purpose. When plans fail, you feel lost, even though your purpose hasn't changed. Growth requires flexibility. It requires the ability to adjust without losing momentum. Letting go of control allows you to pivot instead of panic. Many people confuse control with discipline, but they are not the same. Discipline is about commitment to action. Control is about attachment to outcome. Discipline keeps you consistent regardless of results. Control makes you frustrated when results don't match expectations. Discipline builds resilience. Control builds anxiety. When you try to control everything, failure feels devastating. Because failure doesn't just mean something didn't work. It feels like you lost control. But when you release control, failure becomes feedback. It becomes information you can use. It becomes part of the process instead of a personal threat. Control also weakens trust. Trust requires surrender. It requires belief that even if things don't go according to plan, you'll still be okay. When you refuse to let go, you're essentially saying you don't trust the process, yourself, or the future. Growth begins when trust replaces control. There's a difference between preparation and control. Preparation is wise. Control is rigid. You can prepare thoroughly and still accept uncertainty. You can work hard and still remain open to change. Control refuses to accept that change is inevitable. Control drains energy. Trying to manage every detail is exhausting. You spend more time worrying about what could go wrong than focusing on what you can do well. Letting go of control frees mental and emotional energy. That energy can then be invested in growth, learning, and execution. Control also creates resistance to learning. When you believe you must always be right, you stop being teachable. You defend your position instead of exploring new perspectives. Growth requires humility. It requires admitting that you don't know everything. Control resists that admission. When control is dominant, trust in others becomes difficult. You hesitate to delegate. You struggle to collaborate. You feel like things will fall apart if you're not involved in every decision. This limits expansion. Growth often requires support, teamwork, and shared responsibility. Control narrows your identity. You start defining yourself by outcomes you can manage instead of values you can live by. When those outcomes change, your sense of self feels threatened. Letting go of control allows your identity to be rooted in who you are, not what you can predict. There is also emotional growth that comes from releasing control. You learn how to sit with discomfort without trying to fix it immediately. You learn how to tolerate uncertainty without panic. These emotional skills are essential for long-term success because life will never be fully predictable. Control often delays action. You wait until everything feels perfect before you start. You wait for the right timing, the right condition, the right level of confidence. Growth happens through action, not perfection. Letting go of control allows you to start before you feel ready. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you move from controlling outcomes to controlling effort. You cannot control how others respond. You cannot control timing. You cannot control every result. But you can control your consistency, your preparation, your attitude, and your response to challenges. That shift changes everything. Control creates frustration during delays. When things don't move fast enough, you feel powerless. But when you release control, delays become part of the journey instead of obstacles. You focus on what you can do during the wait instead of resenting the wait itself. Letting go of control doesn't happen all at once. It's a practice. It's choosing again and again to trust instead of tighten. It's noticing when fear is driving your decisions and choosing courage instead. It's reminding yourself that growth requires risk. Control also prevents you from fully experiencing life. When you're constantly managing outcomes, you miss the present moment. You're always preparing for what's next instead of engaging with what's now. Growth happens in the present. Awareness is lost when control takes over. There's a certain strength that comes from adaptability. When you're not obsessed with control, change doesn't break you. It challenges you, but it doesn't define you. You learn how to adjust without losing confidence. That adaptability becomes one of your greatest assets. Control can make success fragile. If success only works when everything goes according to plan, then it's easily disrupted. Growth-focused individuals build systems that can withstand uncertainty. They don't collapse when things change because they expect change. Releasing control also deepens self-trust. You begin to believe in your ability to figure things out as you go. You stop needing guarantees to move forward. This confidence is quiet but powerful. It's not based on certainty but on resilience. There will be moments when letting go of control feels like stepping off solid ground. It can feel irresponsible, risky, even frightening. But that feeling often signals growth. Comfort zones rarely expand without discomfort. Control promises safety, but delivers limitation. Trust feels risky, but delivers growth. When you choose trust over control, you allow life to teach you what you could never learn through planning alone, through command surrender. Not surrender of effort, but surrender of ego. Surrender of the need to know everything. Surrender of the belief that you must manage every outcome. In that surrender, you find freedom. When you stop trying to control everything, you start responding instead of reacting. You become calmer under pressure. You think more clearly. You adapt faster. Growth becomes sustainable instead of stressful. Letting go of control doesn't mean life becomes easy. Challenges still exist. Uncertainty still appears. But you meet those moments with flexibility instead of fear. You move with life instead of against it. In the end, control is about protecting who you are now. Growth is about becoming who you're meant to be. You cannot do both at the same time. One requires holding on. The other requires letting go. And the moment you loosen your grip, you create space. Space for learning, space for strength, space for opportunity, space for growth. Most people wait for certainty before they move. They want guarantees. They want confirmation. They want to feel confident, motivated, and sure before they take action. But life doesn't reward certainty nearly as much as it rewards consistency. Certainty is rare, fragile, and often temporary. Consistency, on the other hand, is available every single day. Consistency doesn't require you to know the outcome. It only requires you to show up. Certainty makes people comfortable, but comfort doesn't build results. Consistency builds results even when comfort is gone. There are people who knew exactly what they wanted, had a clear plan, and still failed because they didn't stay consistent. And there are people who aren't sure, who doubted themselves, who questioned the path, but kept showing up anyway, and eventually succeeded. The difference wasn't clarity. The difference was commitment. Consistency beats certainty because certainty fades. Feelings change. Motivation comes and goes. Confidence rises and falls depending on circumstances. If your progress depends on how certain you feel, you'll stop every time doubt appears. But if your progress depends on consistency, doubt becomes irrelevant. You move forward whether you feel ready or not. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you question your ability. Days when progress feels slow and invisible. Certainty won't save you on those days. Consistency will. Consistency is what carries you through low energy moments, emotional setbacks, and mental fatigue. It doesn't argue with doubt. It simply keeps going. Many people overestimate the power of big decisions and underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. They believe one clear moment will change everything, but transformation is usually the result of ordinary actions repeated over time. Consistency compounds. What feels insignificant today becomes powerful tomorrow if it's repeated long enough. Certainty often creates pressure. When you think you need to be sure, you hesitate. You overthink, you wait for the perfect sign. That waiting delays progress. Consistency removes that pressure. It says, I don't need to know everything. I just need to do something today. Mindset creates momentum. Momentum doesn't come from knowing. It comes from doing. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates learning. Learning creates confidence. Confidence is not the starting point, it's the result. Consistency is what starts the cycle. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on yourself. That self-trust is far more valuable than external certainty. When you trust yourself to stay consistent, uncertainty becomes less threatening. Certainty can actually make people fragile. When they believe they know exactly how things will unfold, any deviation feels like failure. But consistency creates resilience. When your focus is on effort rather than outcome, setbacks don't stop you. They become part of the routine. There is freedom in consistency. You stop obsessing over results and start focusing on habits. You stop asking, is this working yet? And start asking, did I show up today? That shift reduces anxiety and increases sustainability. You're no longer emotionally tied to immediate outcomes. Consistency is on. It doesn't promise quick success. It doesn't offer shortcuts. It doesn't pretend the journey will be easy. It simply asks for commitment. And that commitment over time produces results that certainty alone never could. Many people quit not because the goal is wrong, but because progress feels slow. They expected clarity to carry them, but clarity didn't last. Consistency would have. Consistency is what keeps you moving when excitement wears off and the work becomes routine. Certainty often comes from outside sources. Approval, validation, signs, praise. Consistency comes from within. It doesn't depend on encouragement. It doesn't need permission. It's self-driven. That internal drive is what sustains long-term growth. Consistency also simplifies decision-making. You don't wake up every day debating whether to continue. The decision has already been made. You remove negotiation from the process. When action becomes a habit, resistance loses its power. There will be moments when certainty seems appealing, when you wish you could just know how things will turn out. But knowing wouldn't make the work easier. It It will only change how you feel about it. Consistency changes what you become through the work. Consistency teaches patience. It teaches you to value progress over perfection. It teaches you to respect the process instead of rushing the outcome. Those lessons are essential because sustainable success requires patience. Patience certainly can make people reckless. When they believe success is guaranteed, they may skip steps, ignore details, or underestimate challenges. Consistency forces humility. It requires daily effort, attention, and discipline. That humility strengthens results. Consistency also builds discipline. Discipline is the ability to act regardless of mood. Certainty relies on mood. When you feel sure, you act. When you don't, you hesitate. Discipline doesn't wait for the right feeling. It creates the feeling through action. There's a quiet power in doing the work consistently without knowing exactly where it will lead. That power comes from growth itself. You become stronger, more skilled, and more confident simply by staying in motion. Consistency allows you to learn from mistakes without being discouraged by them. When your focus is on showing up, mistakes are expected. They're part of the routine. Certainty often makes mistakes feel catastrophic because they disrupt expectations. Consistency also protects you from burnout. When you're obsessed with certainty and results, you push too hard, too fast. You try to force outcomes. Consistency encourages steady effort. It allows you to pace yourself. Progress rarely happens in dramatic leaps. It happens quietly, gradually, almost invisibly. Consistency respects that reality. Certainty often ignores it. It wants proof now. It wants validation now. But growth doesn't work on demand. Consistency builds credibility with yourself, with others, with your work. People trust those who show up regularly more than those who talk confidently but disappear when things get hard. Certainty is comfortable because it removes doubt. But doubt is not your enemy. Doubt can coexist with action. You don't need to eliminate doubt to move forward. You only need to stay consistent despite it. Consistency also helps you adapt. When you're regularly engaged, you notice what's working and what's not. You adjust. You improve. Certainty can blind you to necessary changes because you're convinced you're right. There will be times when consistency feels boring, repetitive, uninspiring. But boredom is often a space where mastery is built. Mastery doesn't come from excitement. It comes from repetition. Consistency turns effort into identity. You stop seeing action as something you do and start seeing it as who you are. You become someone who shows up. That identity is powerful because it doesn't depend on circumstances. Certainty focuses on the destination. Consistency focuses on the journey. The journey is where growth happens. The destination is just a moment. When results finally appear, they often seem certain to others. But you know the truth. You know it was consistency, not certainty, that got you there. It was the days you didn't feel sure but showed up anyway. Consistency also prepares you for success. When opportunities arise, you're ready because you've been practicing. Certainty without preparation collapses under pressure. Consistency builds capacity. You don't need to feel confident to be consistent. You don't need to feel inspired. You don't need to feel certain. You just need to commit to action today. Certainty asks, so will this work? Consistency asks, will I show up? One depends on the future. The other depends on you. In the end, certainty is a luxury. Consistency is a skill, and skills can be developed. If you master consistency, uncertainty loses its power. Because when you show up day after day, even without clarity, progress becomes inevitable. Not because you knew the outcome, but because you refuse to stop moving. Pressure has a way of exposing what comfort hides. When everything is easy, when support is available, when results come quickly, it's difficult to know what you're really made of. But pressure removes the extra layers. It strips away excuses, distractions, and false confidence. Under pressure, the truth comes out. Pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. And more often than not, pressure reveals purpose. Most people try to avoid pressure. They see it as a sign that something is wrong. They believe life should be smooth if they are on the right path. But pressure is not a signal to stop. It's often a signal that something important is happening. Pressure shows up when you're being stretched, when you're being prepared for something greater than what you've experienced before. Purpose is rarely discovered in comfort. Comfort keeps you where you are. Pressure pushes you beyond what you think you can handle. It forces you to dig deeper, to access strength you didn't know you had. Without pressure, that strength stays dormant. You never discover it because you never need it. When pressure hits, your habits are exposed. You see what you truly rely on when things get hard. Do you panic or focus? Do you quit or adapt? Do you blame or take responsibility? These responses are not random. They reveal what has been built inside you long before the pressure arrived. Pressure clarifies pride. When everything is on the line, you quickly realize what matters and what doesn't. Distractions lose their appeal. Excuses lose their power. Under pressure, you focus on essentials. That focus often aligns you more closely with your purpose. Many people mistake pressure for punishment. They assume that if life is hard, they must be doing something wrong. But pressure is often preparation. Before growth, there's resistance. Before expansion, there's tension. Pressure is what strengthens muscles, sharpens skills, and builds resilience. Without it, growth would be shallow and fragile. Pressure reveals how deeply you believe in what you're doing. When things are easy, commitment is effortless. But when obstacles pile up, when progress slows, when support fades, pressure asks the question, is this important enough to keep going? The answer to that question points directly to purpose. Purpose is not just what you enjoy when things go well. Purpose is what you are willing to endure discomfort for. It's what you continue to pursue when the excitement is gone and the work becomes heavy. Pressure separates interest from calling. Under pressure, excuses sound hollow. You can no longer hide behind circumstances. You must decide whether to rise or retreat. That decision shapes identity. Each time you choose to face pressure instead of avoid it, you strengthen your sense of purpose. Pressure also exposes weaknesses, and that exposure is valuable. You see where you lack discipline, preparation, or emotional control. These weaknesses are not failures, they are signals. They show you where growth is required. Pressure becomes a teacher, pointing out what needs to be developed. Many people discover their true capabilities only when they are pushed to the edge. They look back later and are surprised by what they survived. The pressure they thought would break them ended up building them. That realization changes self-belief forever. Pressure forces focus. When stakes are high, wasted energy becomes unacceptable. You learn to manage time better, to prioritize effort, and to eliminate what doesn't serve the goal. This focus increases effectiveness and brings clarity to your direction. Pressure also deepens empathy. When you've struggled, when you've been tested, you understand others better. Purpose is often connected to service, and service grows from understanding. Pressure gives you experiences that shape compassion and perspective. Some of the most meaningful paths are revealed during difficult seasons. When one door closes under pressure, another often opens. Redirection happens when plans fall apart. What felt like loss becomes alignment. Pressure pushes you away from what is comfortable toward what is meaningful. Pressure reveals leadership in calm conditions. Leadership is theoretical. Under pressure, leadership is practical. Who steps up? Who stays composed? Who takes responsibility? These moments define leaders. Even if you don't see yourself as one, pressure may reveal leadership qualities you didn't know you had. There is also creativity in pressure. Limitations force innovation. When resources are scarce and options are limited, you think differently. You find solutions you wouldn't have considered in comfort. Pressure sharpens problem-solving skill. Pressure tests integrity. When shortcuts appear tempting, when values are challenged, pressure reveals what you stand for. Staying true under pressure builds inner strength. That strength becomes part of your purpose because it defines how you move through the world. Many people try to escape pressure by quitting too early. They never see what the pressure was trying to reveal. They assume relief is the goal, but growth is the goal. Pressure is temporary, but the strength it builds is lasting. Pressure also changes how you see failure. Under pressure, failure becomes information, not identity. You learn quickly because you have to. Adaptation accelerates. Purpose often emerges through this rapid learning. When pressure exposes fear, it also reveals courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. Pressure gives you repeated opportunities to choose courage. Over time, those choices reshape self-image. Pressure strips away external validation. When approval disappears, you learn to rely on internal standards. That internal alignment is crucial for purpose. You stop doing things for applause and start doing them because they matter. Pressure can feel isolating. Few people understand what you carry. But isolation can strengthen self-reliance. You learn how to motivate yourself, how to stay grounded without constant encouragement. This independence is part of purpose-driven strength. Pressure also refines discipline. When stakes are high, discipline is no longer optional. You either show up prepared or face the consequences. This accountability builds habits that support long-term success. Under pressure, you learn to manage emotions. Reacting impulsively often makes things worse. Pressure teaches emotional regulation. You learn how to pause, think, and respond. This emotional maturity is essential for sustaining purpose. Pressure reveals resilience. Resilience is not built in theory. It's built through experience. Each time you recover from pressure, your confidence grows. You trust yourself more because you've seen what you can handle. Pressure also is what you're willing to sacrifice. Purpose requires sacrifice. Time, comfort, convenience. Pressure makes those costs visible. When you're willing to pay them, you move closer to your purpose. There's clarity that comes from surviving pressure. Afterward, smaller challenges feel manageable. Perspective shifts. You realize that you are stronger than you thought. That realization fuels future courage. Pressure often precedes breakthroughs. Right before growth, resistance intensifies. Many people give up at the peak of pressure, unaware that relief was near. Those who persist often find themselves transformed. Pressure teaches trust. When control is limited, you learn to trust the process, your preparation, and your ability to adapt. That trust stabilizes you in future uncertainty. Purpose is not always revealed in a single moment. Sometimes it unfolds gradually through repeated pressure. Each challenge adds a piece to the picture. Over time, patterns emerge. You begin to see where your strengths consistently show up. Pressure also humbles ego. It reminds you that you don't have all the answers. Humility opens the door to learning. Learning refines purpose. When pressure reveals purpose, it doesn't mean the pressure disappears. It means the pressure gains meaning. Struggle becomes worthwhile because it's connected to something bigger than discomfort. Looking back, you may realize that the moments you wanted to escape were the moments that shaped you most. The pressure forced growth you wouldn't have chosen voluntarily, but that growth became essential. Pressure reveals purpose by demanding a response. It asks you who you are and who you're willing to become. Each response builds clarity. You don't have to enjoy pressure for it to be useful. You just have to endure it with intention. Ask what is teaching you. Ask what is revealing. Because when the pressure passes, and it always does, you don't return to who you were before. You carry strength, wisdom, and clarity that didn't exist before. Pressure reveals purpose not by breaking you, but by showing you what stands when everything else is stripped away. Trust is often misunderstood as a feeling, something that shows up naturally when circumstances are good and disappears when things get hard. But real trust is not emotional. It's intentional. It's a daily decision you make regardless of how you feel, what you see, or what you're experiencing. Trust is not something you fall into, something you choose again and again, especially on days when choosing it feels difficult. Every morning, whether you realize it or not, you make choices that shape your direction. You choose whether to believe or doubt, whether to act or hesitate, whether to persist or pull back. Trust lives inside those choices. It's not one dramatic moment of fate. It's a series of small decisions stacked over time. And those small decisions quietly determine your future. Trust as a daily decision means you don't wait for motivation to show up before you move. Motivation is unreliable. It's influenced by mood, energy, and circumstances. Trust steps in when motivation is absent. It says, even if I don't feel inspired today, I will still show up. That consistency builds strength far more reliably than emotional highs ever could. There will be days when doubt feels louder than belief. On those days, trust doesn't mean pretending doubt doesn't exist. It means refusing to let doubt make decisions for you. Doubt can be present, but it doesn't have to be in control. Trust is the act of choosing forward motion even when your mind is uncertain. Trust as a daily decision also means separating action from outcome. You don't trust because you know things will work out perfectly. You trust because you believe showing up matters regardless of the result. This mindset frees you from constant anxiety about outcomes. You focus on effort, not guarantees. Each day presents opportunities to either strengthen or weaken trust. When you keep commitments to yourself, trust grows. When you avoid responsibility, trust erodes. Self-trust is built through action, not affirmation. You don't convince yourself you're reliable. You prove it through consistent behavior. Trust requires repetition. Just like any habit, it becomes stronger the more you practice it. One decision doesn't change everything, but repeated decisions create identity. You become someone who trusts the process, someone who doesn't panic at uncertainty, someone who continues despite discomfort. Many people expect trust to feel calm and reassuring, but often trust feels uncomfortable. It feels like acting without reassurance. It feels like continuing without clarity. It feels like choosing patience when impatience would be easier. The discomfort doesn't mean trust is absent. It means trust is being exercised. Trust as a daily decision also means managing how you respond to setbacks. When things don't go as planned, you can either see it as proof that trust was misplaced or as part of the process. Choosing the second response strengthens trust, keeps you engaged instead of discouraged. You don't wake up one day with unshakable trust. You build it by making small choices when it would be easier not to. Choosing discipline over excuses. Choosing patience over panic. Choosing persistence over withdrawal. These choices compound. Trust also requires boundaries. You must decide what voices you listen to and which ones you ignore. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Trust means committing to your path, even when others question it. That doesn't mean refusing feedback. It means not allowing doubt from others to override your own commitment. Daily trust involves forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. You won't always make perfect choices. You'll hesitate sometimes, you'll make mistakes. Trust means not using those moments as reasons to quit. It means learning and recommitting. Instead of judging yourself harshly, trust as a decision means choosing patience with progress. Some days will feel productive, others won't. Trust doesn't fluctuate with performance. It remains steady. You don't abandon belief because of a slow day or a bad week. You zoom out and stay committed. Trust also influences how you handle fear. Fear doesn't disappear when you trust. It becomes manageable. You acknowledge fear, but don't obey it. Each day you choose action despite fear. Fear loses some of its power. Over time, courage becomes familiar. Trusting daily also means letting go of the need for constant reassurance. You don't need signs every day that you're on the right path. You rely on commitment instead of confirmation. This independence strengthens emotional resilience. Trust affects how you speak to yourself. The inner dialogue you choose each day either reinforces belief or undermines it. Choosing trust means choosing language that supports effort instead of discouraging it. You don't lie to yourself, but you don't sabotage yourself either. Daily trust requires presence. You focus on today's responsibilities instead of being overwhelmed by the future. Trust says, I don't need to solve everything today. I just need to handle what's in front of me. That mindset reduces stress and increases effectiveness. Trust as a decision also shows up in how you handle comparison. When you trust your journey, other people's progress doesn't threaten you. You stay focused on your lane. Comparison loses its grip when trust is strong. There will be moments when trust feels repetitive and unexciting. Doing the same thing, showing up again, staying consistent, it can feel boring. But boredom is often the space where discipline is built. Trust doesn't need excitement to function. Trust also means choosing long-term growth over short-term relief. It's tempting to quit when things get hard, just to escape discomfort. But trust chooses endurance. It chooses to stay even when leaving would feel easier. Each day you choose trust, you strengthen your tolerance for uncertainty. You stop needing everything to be predictable. You become adaptable. This flexibility is crucial because life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. Trust as a daily decision shapes how you respond to success as well. When things go well, you don't become complacent. You stay grounded. You keep showing up. Trust isn't shaken by failure or inflated by success. Trust also influences your relationships. When you trust yourself, you rely less on external validation. You don't need constant approval. This emotional independence creates healthier connections with others. Daily trust builds emotional stability. You're less reactive. You don't swing wildly between hope and despair. You stay steady because your commitment isn't tied to daily fluctuations. Trust requires honesty. You don't ignore reality. You acknowledge challenges, but you don't let challenges define your future. You balance realism with belief. Trust as a decision means choosing alignment over comfort. Sometimes the right choice feels uncomfortable. Trust gives you the courage to make it anyway. Over time, daily trust becomes instinctive. You don't have to think about it as much. It becomes part of who you are. You respond to uncertainty with action instead of avoidance. Trust also deepens resilience. Each day you choose it. You prove to yourself that you can handle uncertainty. That proof accumulates. Confidence grows quietly. Daily trust changes how you view time. You stop rushing outcomes. You respect the process. You understand that meaningful growth takes time. Trust means recommitting after disappointment. When expectations aren't met, you don't abandon the path. You adjust and continue. This adaptability is essential. Trust as a daily decision doesn't require grand gestures. It shows up in simple action, starting when you don't feel ready, continuing when progress is slow, resting without quitting. Trust also affects how you deal with mistakes. You don't see them as evidence that you can't succeed. You see them as part of learning. That perspective keeps you moving. Daily trust is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply shows up consistently. Trust builds identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't quit easily, someone who stays committed, someone who believes in effort. When challenges arise, trust doesn't panic. It pauses, assesses, and responds. That calmness comes from repeated practice. Trust also strengthens intuition. When you consistently act with integrity and intention, you become more attuned to what feels right. Daily trust reduces regret. Even if outcomes change, you know you stayed true to your effort. That self-respect matters. Trust requires courage, but courage grows with use. Each day you choose trust, courage becomes more accessible. Trust as a decision transforms uncertainty from a threat into a teacher. Each uncertain moment becomes an opportunity to practice resilience. You don't need to trust perfectly. You just need to trust consistently. Imperfect trust practiced daily is powerful. Over time, daily trust creates momentum. Momentum makes challenges easier to face. You're already moving. Trust also shapes how you end your days. You reflect, learn, and recommit instead of dwelling on fear. Eventually, you realize that trust was never about predicting the future. It was about staying present and committed. Trust as a daily decision builds a foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. It's steady, reliable, and strong. And one day, you look back and realize that what carried you through wasn't certainty or confidence. It was the quiet decision you made every day to keep going, even when you weren't sure. Hope is often misunderstood as a passive feeling, something that simply appears when circumstances are favorable and disappears when life gets hard. But real hope is not passive. It's active. It's a decision. It's a conscious choice to believe that no matter the present difficulty, the future can be better, and that your actions matter in shaping it. Hope is not a vague wish for things to improve. It is a steady, persistent force that propels you forward, even when evidence seems scarce or obstacles loom large. Hope is a muscle. You build it through practice, especially when life feels uncertain or overwhelming. Most people wait to act until they feel certain that things will work out. They wait for signs, reassurance, or guarantees. Hope, however, allows you to act even when certainty is absent. It allows you to keep moving forward without a clear map, without complete clarity, and sometimes even without encouragement. Acting with hope is a declaration that your effort is meaningful, even if the outcome is unknown. Without hope, action feels futile. With hope, even small steps accumulate into momentum, and momentum transforms uncertainty into progress. Hope is what keeps you standing when challenges feel insurmountable. Life will not always unfold according to plan. There will be setbacks, rejections, and disappointments. It is during these moments that hope matters most. Hope does not promise an immediate solution, but it provides the courage to endure, to persevere, and to continue showing up. Every day you choose hope, you reinforce your belief in the possibility of change. That repeated choice slowly shapes resilience. Hope is intimately connected to vision. It requires the ability to see beyond the present moment, beyond current hardships, to a future that's possible but not yet realized. realize. This vision does not have to be perfect. It does not need to be fully detailed. It simply needs to be enough to spark movements, to ignite effort, and to provide direction. Without hope, vision fades, and with it, motivation diminishes. Hope bridges the gap between vision and action. It is the invisible thread that connects what could be to what can be done today. One of the most difficult aspects of hope is that it often coexists with fear and doubt. You may hope for success while simultaneously fearing failure. You may hope for a breakthrough while feeling uncertain about your abilities. This tension is natural. True hope is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. Hope requires courage because it dares you to keep trying even when everything seems uncertain. Hope is also a daily practice, not a one-time decision. You build it by making small, deliberate choices to focus on possibility rather than limitation. Each morning you decide to show up. Each time you choose effort over retreat. And each moment you resist despair, you reinforce hope. Over time, these small decisions accumulate, creating a mindset that sees opportunity even in difficulty and growth even in struggle. Hope thrives on action. Passive hope, the kind that merely waits for circumstances to improve, accomplishes little. Hope must be paired with effort, with deliberate, consistent steps forward. It is expressed through daily actions, the work you complete, the conversations you engage in, the decisions you make. Every act of movement is an act of hope, and each small action compounds into momentum that carries you forward when the path feels unclear. Hope requires patience. Progress rarely occurs overnight. The seeds you plant today may not bear fruit for months, years, or even decades. Hope teaches you to trust the process, to recognize that meaningful outcomes take time. Patience does not mean inactivity. It means steady, intentional effort coupled with the belief that your efforts matter, even when immediate results are not visible. Hope also demands resilience. Life will challenge you. People will doubt you. Opportunities may seem to vanish. In these moments, hope is what allows you to bounce back, to recommit, and to try again. Resilience is built through repeated experiences of enduring difficulty without giving up, and hope is the fuel that powers that endurance. Without hope, resilience falters. With hope, obstacles become temporary challenges instead of insurmountable barriers. Hope is strengthened by perspective. When you look beyond immediate setbacks and see your journey as a series of steps, each contributing to a larger goal, hope grows. Perspective allows you to reframe failures as lessons, delays, as preparation, and challenges as opportunities for growth. Every obstacle carries the potential to strengthen hope if you choose to see it that way. Hope is not naive optimism. It is not blind faith that everything will turn out perfectly. Real hope is grounded in realism. It acknowledges difficulty, risks, and uncertainty while still insisting that effort and perseverance are worthwhile. This realistic hope is powerful because it motivates action without creating false expectations. It keeps you committed without making you reckless. Hope also builds focus. When you choose hope, you prioritize what matters most. You learn to distinguish between distractions and opportunities, between temporary setbacks and long-term goals. Hope helps you concentrate your energy on meaningful action instead of wasting it on worry or regret. It transforms uncertainty into clarity of purpose by directing attention toward what can be influenced rather than what is beyond control. Hope influences the way you respond to fear. Fear may arise, but hope reframes it. Instead of seeing obstacles as reasons to stop, hope turns them into challenges to overcome. It reminds you that difficulties are part of the journey and that perseverance through struggle is what leads to growth and achievement. Each time you act despite fear, you strengthen both hope and confidence. Hope is contagious. When you carry hope, it inspires those around you. People respond to optimism that is grounded in action. Your belief that improvement is possible can influence others to persist, to believe, and to act. Collective hope often leads to collective progress because it multiplies energy and motivation across individuals and communities. Hope requires self-discipline. You cannot rely on circumstances or emotions to maintain it. Life is unpredictable, and feelings of hope may fluctuate. Discipline ensures that you continue acting, learning, and striving even when hope feels distant. Discipline and hope work hand in hand. Discipline sustains effort, and hope sustains belief in the value of that effort. Hope also reshapes failure. When hope is present, failure is no longer a permanent state. It becomes feedback, information that guides adjustments and improvement. Each misstep is a lesson, each setback a chance to adapt. With hope, you view mistakes as temporary, solvable, and integral to progress, rather than as reasons to quit. Hope strengthens persistence. It is the quiet voice that reminds you why you started, what you are striving for, and why it matters. Persistence without hope can feel mechanical and exhausting. Hope fuels persistence with meaning and vision, transforming repetition into purpose. It allows you to endure long stretches of effort that might otherwise feel fruitless. Hope requires self-belief. You must believe that your effort can influence outcomes, that your choices matter, and that your actions contribute to progress. Without this internal trust, hope becomes dependent on external validation, which is unreliable. Cultivating self-belief ensures that hope remains steadfast even in the absence of recognition or reward. Hope demands flexibility. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. Plans fail, opportunities change, and circumstances shift unexpectedly. Hope does not insist that things go perfectly, it adapts. It sees alternative paths and creative solutions, maintaining momentum despite unpredictability. Flexibility allows hope to endure when rigid expectations might lead to discouragement. Hope is a long-term commitment. It is not a one-time decision or a fleeting emotion. It requires continual choice, daily effort, and repeated action. Over time, hope becomes part of your character, informs your mindset, guides your decisions, and sustains you through challenges. Persistent hope transforms not only outcomes, but also the person you become. Hope strengthens emotional resilience. Life is full of disappointments, frustrations, and hardships. Hope allows you to maintain equilibrium, to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, and to recover quickly from setbacks. It becomes an anchor, keeping you grounded when circumstances threaten to overwhelm you. Hope is also a source of courage. Acting on hope often means taking risks, facing uncertainty, and stepping into the unknown. Without hope, fear dominates. With hope, you can act decisively, take bold steps, and embrace challenges as opportunities rather than threats. Courage and hope reinforce each other, creating a cycle of empowerment. Hope requires reflection. You must regularly remind yourself of what you are striving for and why it matters. Reflection strengthens clarity, deepens commitment, and reinforces the belief that effort is meaningful. Each time you pause to evaluate progress, acknowledge achievements, and reframe challenges, you are actively cultivating hope. Hope is practical, not passive. It motivates action, encourages learning, and sustains perseverance. Hope transforms waiting into preparation, obstacles into opportunities, and uncertainty into a platform for growth. When paired with effort, hope is a catalyst for achievement, creating results that would be impossible if one relied solely on certainty or motivation. Hope is iterative. You will experience highs and lows, days of clarity and days of doubt. Each time you return to hope after doubt, each time you recommit after hesitation, you strengthen it. This repetition is essential. Hope is reinforced by practice, by endurance, and by action, especially when it is most difficult. Hope shapes identity. When you consistently act with hope, you begin to see yourself as a person who perseveres, who believes in possibility, who refuses to quit. This identity becomes self-reinforcing, guiding future decisions and actions in alignment with your purpose. Hope is resilient. External circumstances may challenge it, but when hope is cultivated through repeated choice and action, it becomes internalized. It is less dependent on external conditions and more rooted in personal conviction, vision, and effort. Finally, hope is transformative. Hope is transformative. It changes how you perceive challenge, obstacles, and setbacks. It empowers you to act despite uncertainty, to endure despite difficulty, and to persist despite fear. Hope turns potential into progress and vision into reality. It is the quiet, persistent force that bridges where you are to where you are meant to be, even when the road seems unclear, even when progress feels slow, and even when setbacks occur. Hope keeps you moving forward. It strengthens self-trust, fuels persistence, fosters resilience, and shapes character. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is disciplined, active belief in possibility. And those who cultivate it relentlessly, even in the face of difficulty, are the ones who achieve, endure, and thrive. Because hope is not just about the future. It is about the daily choice to continue, to act, and to believe. It is the force that ensures that effort today compounds into success tomorrow. It is the invisible engine that drives progress when certainty is absent. It is the lifeline that transforms struggle into growth, challenges into lessons, and persistence into triumph. Those who master the art of hope understand that it's not dependent on immediate results, external approval, or clear guarantees. It is a conscious, daily, active choice that sustains effort, reinforces belief, and bridges the gap between who you are and who you are becoming. Hope, when practiced consistently, becomes the foundation for achievement, resilience, and purpose-driven life. Life is a journey filled with uncertainty, challenges, and moments when the path forward feels unclear. Every one of us at some point encounters obstacles that test our resolve, question our beliefs, and push us to our limits. It is in these moments that the principles of trust, hope, perseverance, and faith become not just constants but lifelines, forces that guide us when the road seems impossible to navigate. To conclude this speech, it is essential to reflect on how these ideas intertwine to create a framework for resilience and success, a guide that ensures we continue moving forward even when the world seems determined to stop us. Trust, first and foremost, is the foundation of all meaningful progress. Trust begins within ourselves. It is the belief that despite setbacks, mistakes, or moments of doubt, we have the ability to endure and grow. Many people wait for external confirmation before acting. They wait for a clear sign, for reassurance, or for a guarantee that things will work out. But life rarely offers guarantees. Waiting for certainty often leads to stagnation. True trust is the ability to act without certainty, to move forward even when the outcome is unknown. Every decision, every effort made in trust reinforces this inner belief. It strengthens resilience and builds the confidence that no matter what comes, we can handle it. Self-trust is cultivated through consistent action. Each time we honor our commitments to ourselves, each time we follow through even when it's inconvenient or difficult, we reinforce our reliability and our strength. This daily practice creates an unshakable foundation that becomes a guiding force in all areas of life. When we trust ourselves, we no longer rely solely on external validation. We are empowered to act with conviction, to navigate uncertainty with calmness, and to continue forward, even when challenges seem insurmountable. Trust teaches us that our decisions, our discipline, and our persistence are the anchors that hold us steady amidst life's storms. Hope is the fuel that keeps us moving when progress is slow or invisible. It is the quiet belief that tomorrow can be better, that effort matters, and that change is possible. Hope is not passive. It is active. It is the decision to focus on possibility rather than limitation, to continue striving even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Many people give up because they lose sight of hope. They become overwhelmed by obstacles, discouraged by failure, or paralyzed by fear. But hope transforms these challenges into stepping stones. It allows us to act with patience, to persist through adversity, and to maintain focus when distractions and doubts arise. Hope is the lens through which we view the future, and it shapes the actions we take today. Patience is a companion to hope. Growth is rarely instant. Meaningful achievements take time, effort, and persistence. The results we desire do not appear overnight. Those who cultivate hope understand this and are willing to endure discomfort, setbacks, and delays. They recognize that each small, consistent action compounds over time. What may seem insignificant today contributes to progress tomorrow. Patience allows us to navigate the journey without succumbing to frustration or despair, reinforcing the importance of commitment over immediacy. Perseverance is the active expression of trust and hope. It is the discipline to continue acting even when motivation is absent, when results are slow, or when fear threatens to paralyze us. Perseverance is built through repeated choices to engage, to show up, and to remain committed to the process. Life will always test our determination, but perseverance ensures that we are not defeated by temporary setbacks. Those who persevere discover that obstacles are often opportunities in disguise, that challenges build strength, and that every act of endurance moves them closer to their goals. Resilience is cultivated through these repeated experiences of trust, hope, and perseverance. Each time we confront difficulty and continue forward, we become stronger, more capable, and more confident. Resilience is not a trait we are born with. It is developed through lived experiences, through challenges met and overcome. Life will continue to present obstacles, but those who embrace trust and hope and who persevere in spite of adversity develop the capacity to endure far more than they ever imagined. Resilience ensures that we recover from setbacks, adapt to change, and continue moving forward even when circumstances are unpredictable. Faith, whether in ourselves, in our purpose, or in something greater than ourselves, is the guiding force that aligns all of these elements. Faith is the belief that our efforts are meaningful, that our choices matter, and that we are capable of overcoming adversity. Faith is the trust that what we do today has significance, even when the immediate impact is not visible. It is the quiet assurance that every step forward contributes to the bigger picture, that every struggle has a purpose, and that perseverance will ultimately lead to growth and transformation. Faith sustains us when the path is dark, when doubts arise, and when fear threatens to overwhelm. It is the anchor that keeps us grounded and the compass that directs our journey. Hope, trust, perseverance, and faith work together in a powerful cycle. Trust allows us to take the first step even when uncertainty is present. Hope provides the energy to keep moving when the road is long. Perseverance ensures that we continue acting, learning, and adapting despite challenges. Faith gives meaning to our efforts, allowing us to see beyond temporary setbacks and to maintain perspective. This cycle strengthens character, cultivates resilience, and creates momentum that carries us forward in all areas of life. Life will always include moments of pressure, doubt, and difficulty. These moments are inevitable. They are the tests that reveal our strength and the catalysts that shape our growth. Pressure forces us to dig deeper, to access inner resources we may not have realized we possess. It teaches focus, discipline, and emotional regulation. It exposes weaknesses and highlights areas for growth. Without pressure, growth will be shallow, resilience will be fragile, and our potential will remain unrealized. Embracing pressure as part of the journey transforms it from a source of fear into a tool for development. The path to success is rarely linear. There will be setbacks, failures, and unexpected challenges. Some days may feel discouraging, and progress may seem invincible. But trust, hope, perseverance, and faith provide the framework to continue regardless. Each challenge is an opportunity to strengthen character, develop resilience, and refine purpose. Each failure is information, not identity. Each obstacle is a chance to learn, adapt, and move closer to our goals. Those who understand this, who embrace the journey with intentionality and determination, are the ones who ultimately achieve lasting success. Daily choices define the outcome of our journey. Success is rarely determined by one dramatic decision or a single stroke of luck. It is the result of consistent action, repeated efforts, and small decisions made each day, trusting ourselves to show up, maintaining hope even when progress is slow, persevering through challenges, and holding faith in the process. These daily choices accumulate into momentum. Over time, this momentum transforms uncertainty into achievement, struggle into growth, and effort into results. Every day presents a new opportunity to practice these principles. Each morning, we can decide to act with trust, to embrace hope, to persevere through difficulty, and to maintain faith in our purpose. Each evening, we can reflect on the progress made, the lessons learned, and the strength gained. This daily rhythm reinforces resilience, strengthens character, and keeps us aligned with our goals. Success is not a distant, abstract destination. It is created in the small, consistent choices we make each day. Adversity is an inevitable part of life, but is also an essential part of growth. Challenges are not punishments. They are opportunities to discover what we are capable of. They reveal strengths, expose weaknesses, and clarify purpose. By approaching adversity with trust, hope, perseverance, and faith, we transform obstacles into catalysts for growth. We develop the ability to adapt, to endure, and to thrive even in the face of uncertainty. Each challenge becomes a stepping stone, each difficulty a lesson, and each struggle a chance to strengthen our inner resources. Success, then, is not merely the achievement of external goals. It is the development of inner strength, the cultivation of resilience, and the mastery of consistent action in the face of uncertainty. It is the ability to remain steadfast, to act with purpose, and to persist through challenges. It is the capacity to maintain hope and trust, to embrace pressure and difficulty, and to keep moving forward when the world seems determined to hold you back. True success is not measured solely by outcomes. It is measured by the growth, strength, and character developed along the journey. The journey is ongoing. Life will continue to present new challenges, unexpected obstacles, and moments of doubt. But by embracing trust, hope, perseverance, and faith, we equip ourselves to navigate these challenges with confidence, resilience, and clarity. We learn to see setbacks as temporary, difficulties as opportunities, and effort as the foundation for meaningful progress. We become capable of enduring hardship, adapting to change, and continuing forward even when the path is unclear. Ultimately, the principles discussed in this speech are not abstract ideas. They are practical tools for living a purposeful, resilient, and successful life. They provide a framework for navigating uncertainty, overcoming obstacles, and achieving growth. Trust allows us to act without certainty. Hope provides the energy to continue. Perseverance ensures consistent effort. Faith gives meaning to our actions. Pressure, challenges, and adversity become catalysts for growth rather than reasons for despair. Together, these principles create a cycle of empowerment, momentum, and progress that carries us forward, even when circumstances are difficult. Life's journey is shaped by the choices we make in each moment. Choosing trust, hope, perseverance, and faith is a deliberate act of courage. It is a decision to continue moving forward, to embrace growth, and to commit to purpose, even when the outcome is uncertain. By practicing these principles consistently, we cultivate resilience, develop character, and build the momentum necessary to achieve meaningful and lasting success. The challenges we face, the setbacks we encounter, and the obstacles we overcome are all part of the process that shapes us into stronger, wiser, and more capable individuals. In conclusion, remember this: trust yourself even when doubt is loud. Hope for tomorrow, even when today is difficult. Persevere through challenges, even when progress seems invisible. And maintain faith, even when the path forward is unclear. These principles are the foundation for a life of resilience, purpose, and achievement. They ensure that no matter what obstacles arise, no matter how long the journey feels, and no matter how uncertain the future seems, you will continue moving forward, growing stronger, and achieving your true potential. Life's victories are built not in moments of certainty, but in the daily decisions to trust, hope, persevere, and act with faith. The power to transform your life is in your hands. Each day presents a choice: to succumb to doubt and fear, or to rise with trust, hope, perseverance, and faith. Each decision compounds, building momentum and shaping the trajectory of your life. Even when the journey is difficult, even when results are slow, and even when obstacles appear insurmountable, your commitment to these principles will carry you forward. Success, growth, and fulfillment are not reserved for the fortunate. They are the reward for those who continue, who persist, and who choose each day to move forward despite uncertainty. This is the essence of living a purpose-driven life, showing up consistently, acting with intention, and believing in the value of effort even when the outcome is unknown. The journey may be challenging, but it is also rewarding. Every step forward strengthens resilience. Every act of perseverance builds character. And every decision to trust and hope shapes the foundation for a meaningful and fulfilling life. Embrace this journey fully. Face adversity with courage. Trust yourself in the face of doubt. Hold hope when circumstances seem bleak. Persevere when progress is slow or difficult. Maintain faith in your purpose and your ability. These principles, when practiced consistently, create a life that is resilient, empowered, and transformative. They ensure that no matter what challenges arise, you will continue moving forward, growing stronger, and achieving the potential that exists within you. The story of your life is written through the choices you make every day. By choosing trust, hope, perseverance, and faith, you create a narrative of strength, resilience, and purpose. You transform obstacles into opportunities, struggles into lessons, and effort into meaningful progress. Even in the face of uncertainty, your consistent actions will carry you forward. The journey may be long, the road may be challenging, and the challenges may be daunting, but your commitment to these principles will ensure that you emerge stronger, wiser, and capable of achieving greatness. Live with trust, live with hope, live with perseverance, live with faith. Each day, make the choice to continue to act and to believe. In doing so, you create a life of resilience, purpose, and fulfillment. You demonstrate that true success is not defined by ease or certainty, but by the courage to persist, the discipline to act, and the belief in possibility, even in the face of adversity. Your journey is yours to shape, and with trust, hope, perseverance, and faith, you will shape it into a story of triumph, growth, and extraordinary achievement. This is the power of commitment, the power of persistence, and the power of choosing to move forward when the world seems determined to hold you back. These principles are not abstract ideals. They are practical, actionable, and transformative. They provide the roadmap for navigating life's uncertainties, overcoming obstacles, and achieving meaningful success. By embracing them fully, you equip yourself to endure, to grow, and to thrive. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome, and every act of perseverance strengthens your foundation. Trust, hope, perseverance, and faith compound over time, creating momentum that propels you forward even when circumstances are difficult. Life's journey is never easy, but it is always rewarding when you show up consistently, act with purpose, and maintain belief in your ability to grow and succeed. The choices you make today determine the person you become tomorrow. By trusting yourself, holding hope, persevering through challenges, and maintaining faith, you lay the groundwork for a future of resilience, achievement, and fulfillment. No matter how difficult the path, these principles ensure that you continue moving forward, growing stronger, and creating a life of meaning, impact. Your journey is your own, but the principles that guide it are universal. Trust, hope, perseverance, and faith are the tools that enable anyone to navigate uncertainty, overcome adversity, and achieve lasting success. By embracing them fully, practicing them consistently, and committing to their application every day, you transform not only your outcome, but also the person you are becoming. Success is not merely the result of luck or circumstance. It is the product of deliberate, consistent action guided by trust, fueled by hope, strengthened by perseverance, and sustained by faith. Each day you choose these principles, you move closer to your potential. Each day you act despite doubt, fear, or uncertainty, you build resilience and character. And each day you maintain commitment to your journey, you affirm your capacity to overcome, to grow, and to thrive. So take these principles and integrate them into your life. Trust yourself even when certainty is absent. Maintain hope even when circumstances seem bleak. Persevere even when progress is slow. Hold faith in your purpose and in your ability to overcome. These are the foundations upon which a meaningful, resilient, and successful life is built. The journey may be long and challenging, but with these tools, you are equipped to navigate it with strength, courage, and determination. Your story is still being written, and the chapters ahead are full of possibility. With trust, hope, perseverance, and faith as your guides, you can face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and achieve any goal. The path will not always be smooth, but each step forward, each act of effort, and each decision to continue will carry you closer to your vision. Life's true measure is not in the absence of difficulty, but in the courage to continue, the resilience to endure, and the persistence to keep moving forward no matter what comes. Choose trust, choose hope, choose perseverance, choose faith, choose to act each day even when the road is uncertain. Choose to continue despite setbacks. Choose to believe in the possibility of growth, achievement, and transformation. These choices, repeated daily, create a life of strength, resilience, and fulfillment. This is not just a speech. It is a call to action, a blueprint for a life lived with purpose, determination, and extraordinary impact. And remember, the journey is yours. Each day is an opportunity to show up, to act, and to believe. Your choices define your path. By committing to trust, hope, perseverance, and faith, you ensure that no matter what challenges arise, you will continue forward, growing stronger, wiser, and closer to the person you are meant to become. Your life story is being written in every decision, every effort, and every act of courage. Choose wisely, choose consistently, choose to keep moving forward, and you will create a life that is not only successful, but meaningful, impactful, and extraordinary. The power lies in your hands. Use it, commit to it, and never stop moving forward.